Hello SWE 430. In this video we're going to look at example 1, how to get started working on an example 1. So here I am at the index page, and I'll scroll down to example 1 and click on it. And from the other videos I showed you how to use the JSBin environment and the zip environment, and so I'll be using the zip environment for this. So I already have I already downloaded the zip file and then zipped it in this folder, example my ex1 folder. So I have these 6 files here, and what we want to do is open the example1-test.html file in our web browser. So you'll probably have Internet Explorer, so you can just double click on the HTML file and it'll open up and it'll immediately run all of the QUnit tests. And it looks bad right now because all 4 tests fail. There's one test for each of the 4 functions. So if we look at the example 1 instructions here, we see that we're supposed to create a string info module which has 4 functions: count uppercase letters, count lowercase letters, count control characters, and count non-ASCII characters. 4 functions. They each take in a string and then output some number. And in example 1, the purpose of example 1 is for you to get used to just writing code and running tests iteratively. And so that's what we're going to be doing. In example 2 and assignment 2 and assignment 3, you'll write both the test and the code in true test-driven development style. But for example 1 and assignment 1, all we'll do is write the production code. The tests are already written for you. Okay, so the first step here is to create this little this function that we'll use as kind of a private namespace. And so we see that when the tests are all failing, the reason why here is that string info module is not defined yet, and it's all four of these tests fail with the same problem. It can't even find the string info module. Okay. All right. So now we need to. As I mentioned before, we're just going to work in the production code, so we don't have to worry about the test.js file. We'll just open the code.js file in whatever text editor you want to use, and then we'll start implementing that private namespace, which is really just a function that we are going to immediately execute. So we define a function, and we immediately execute it. And if we run the tests again, they still all 4 fail with the same problem because we still haven't defined the string info module. So we'll do that right now. So we'll create a variable called string info, and we'll assign an empty object to it, and then the global window object, we're going to define an attribute on it also called string info, and we'll assign our empty string info object that we just created to that global window object. So if we run our test again, the failure reasons, oh, and by the way, to quickly rerun your test, you can just hit Control-R. That'll refresh your browser page, and when it does that, it reloads all the tests and runs them all over again. So now we see that the reason for failing is now different. It's not saying string info isn't defined. It's saying the function that it's trying to look up on string info isn't defined. So all 4 do not have their functions created and defined yet. So all 4 tests are still failing. Okay, so now the next part of the example is to actually define the count uppercase characters function. So we'll do that next. So we want string info dot count uppercase letters. So we create a count uppercase letters attribute on the string info object, and we assign this function to it. So we create an empty function, assign it to the count uppercase letters attribute. So now count uppercase letters has a function. So count uppercase letters is a function. So when we run this test, it's still failing, but it's failing for a different reason. So these other tests are just not running at all. Where this test is actually running through all of its assertions. It has 5 different assertions, each one testing a different string input, and it's expecting a number back for each one, a specific number for the test to pass. But instead, because we haven't actually defined a body for that count uppercase characters function yet, when you call it, it just returns undefined. So it's saying, well, I keep getting undefined back when I'm expecting these specific numbers, so each of these assertions are failing. And even if one of these assertions fails, the whole test fails anyway. So that makes sense. So now we just need to define the body of this function. So we have some variables we're going to want to use. And basically what we want to do is go through the input, which is going to be a string, and we'll call it string. So we takes in an input called string, which is an actual string of characters, and we're going to want to look at each character and check if it's an uppercase letter. And if it is, we want to increment our count variable by 1 each time. So the count variable starts at 0, and to keep track of the position that we're in the string, we'll have a variable called I that we've declared. We'll initialize it to 0, and we'll want to keep iterating over through this for loop until we get to the end of the string, which will be when I is once I is equal to string.length, we want to stop iterating. And at each iteration, we want to increment I by 1. And this way, we'll basically loop through every position in the string. So at each position, we'll want to know what is the code of the character at that position. So this line of code is saying get the code for the character at position I and assign that to code, the code variable. So now, if that code variable is greater than or equal to 65 and it's less than or equal to 90, we're going to count by 1. So we'll increment the count variable by 1. And all we have left to do is return the count. So the key here is that if code is greater than or equal to 65 and less than or equal to 90, it just happens to be that those ASCII characters are all the uppercase letters defined in the ASCII standard. So if code is within that range, then we know we have an uppercase letter and we can increment the count by 1. So if we go back and run our tests again, the last 3 tests still fail because we have not defined the last 3 functions yet, but the first function is fully defined and the test is passing, which means it's returning the correct number for each of the uppercase characters in the 5 test cases. Okay, so that's how, in general, you go about working through this. You'll continue implementing the other functions and doing some refactoring and just iteratively progressing through example 1. So continue along with that. If you have any problems or issues, please let me know, and have fun working through example 1. Bye for now.